Hello.
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 What's going on?
Our,
All our podcast listeners love imagining what you just did with your eyebrows, Matt.
It's
they
like two
know
Ooh,
caterpillars
ooh,
that are dancing around on my forehead.
they know that we are a
Jesus.
podcast known for smooth and rehearsed intros.
All the
Indeed.
time.
What
Hmm.
podcast is this, you ask? Always Strikes Last.
And
Yes.
always striking
Yep.
late. So that's what we're doing
Yep.
right
hmm
now.
hmm
Forever and always, boys.
we've got an OG show coming up in here tonight.
Ooh.
Tonight we got Rocco, we got Jack, we got Matt.
I'm an OG now? My God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
That's
been
true.
it's been a while, right? It's
It
been
it,
over a
it
year now.
it's been a while.
It's
Yes,
been
no, it
over a
has been
year.
over. Yeah.
You are the
Yeah.
oldest of the new guard.
hmm
Uh,
That's right.
As like when
You've
we like opened up that crypt and like ushered
yeah.
in some young neophyte. You were that neophyte, Rocco.
yes.
I was there 500 years ago.
I've traded in my red shirt for a yellow shirt. The
Oh
danger's
no.
still there. Ah.
I still get sent down the teleporter. Oh no. Beat me up, Scotty. Beat me up.
You are the most senior intern we have at this point. And there's so many levels you've passed through. It's stressful.
Which really says something because, like, well, aren't we all interns? Nobody gets paid for this. What are we talking about?
No, not at all.
This is true. These are all college credits in an non-existent college.
That being
I'm getting
said,
a
let's
degree in communications.
let's get it out of the way, guys. Hit the like button, smash
Uh-huh.
the like button,
Uh-huh.
subscribe, join our
Leave a comment in the comment
Patreon.
section.
Yeah.
Yep. Join the Patreon.
Mhm,
If you
Yep.
know where your parents' credit card is, sign them up too. They want to probably support the show, though they don't
Oh
know it.
no.
Just really dive in.
Yep. We'll
Uh-huh.
send nude pictures of my dog if you pick the highest level of
Yeah.
the Patreon.
I recently started making Darko feet pics
Uh-oh.
with horrible nightmarish AI.
We got to get
Totally
those
supported by
gargants
that.
in.
Yeah.
All
Those
four
those will
toes,
probably be a Patreon
baby.
tier too.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Oh.
Whew.
So
God.
so so how we doing? How we doing, y'all? I hear Jack did some crazy tournament thing. I don't
Yeah,
really know
Jack's
much
doing
about it.
great. Listen, I'm 1-1 in our RTT thing, but Jack went in there and just had a ball
I've been
at a
having
real
a
life event. He's a real boy.
I've been having a good couple weeks of Warhammer, that's for sure. Yeah. I mean they
hmm
Go on. You deserve it
ca-
anyway. You've been busy with the kid and the job and everything. Tell us about your fun, Jack.
yeah, I'll talk about this. So I had a real fun time. I had like
Hmm.
the best fun day Sunday ever, really. So to plug it a bit for any of our listeners who don't know, the Wicked Dicey Club around here, who I'm affiliated with a bit,
Hmm. Hmm.
amazing guys,
Yeah.
top-notch humans, top-notch Warhammer players, and really people you want to spend time with, like in life and at tournaments.
The
And
Wicked
they're
Eye
really good at
out in
organizing
Boston.
events up
hmm
in Boston. And
Boston.
they kind of do like four signature events a year. They do like the Ironweld GT, they
Yep.
do the Everwinter GT, and they have these two retreats, a spring retreat and a summer retreat, or it's a fall retreat, sorry. And they're just really cool things where, if you're lucky enough to go attend one, it's a teams event, kind of like Worlds, where you're on a team, and you're there at sort of a convention center in the woods, able to kind of camp out in bunks and have a bunch of beers, grill, see some nature, and then play a ton of Warhammer for a whole weekend, playing high level teams, kind of Warhammer,
Hmm.
with our luminaries from around around the country who decide to go and have fun with them.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I've always been very jealous of this event because finding the 2 full days in a weekend, it just never quite lined up for me to go do it.
Hmm.
So it had always been the event that I was kind of like on the fringe of and wanted to go to, but never quite made it out for. But
Yeah.
this time I kind of lucked out because a couple months ago, one of my friends, Anthony Lawrence, was trying to find a sub to be able to
Shout out
play the
Tony.
fourth game of the four games in the team tournament on the Sunday because he had to go do a family thing. And so we were chatting, and it ended up working out where I could go be that sub, and I got it cleared with the wife, the children, and you know the the judges who allow me to go
Hmm.
do things every once in a blue
Hmm.
moon.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
so it was decreed I would go do this. So, joined the team for the Wicked Dicey Kowloon Kids. And we were just kind of like
Okay.
prepping for that for a couple months, but it was just kind of casual for me because I was the alternate, right, for the final game
Yep.
Hmm.
of the Sunday.
Yep.
But the fated day arrived,
Mm.
and I kind of like started off
What was
this
your
epic
pregame
journey.
ritual, Jack? You had one game to go, and what you do for yourself?
That's
Just
right.
one game. Well, my
One
pregame
game.
ritual, and
Make
this
it
I think is
count.
probably the best advertisement you could have, is I had to watch my little daughter try to ride her bike, which is kind of like a learning experience, and hang outside for a
Okay.
couple hours. So I got a
Okay.
giant cup of coffee,
Yep.
and I dressed to the nines. I dressed as, if I was walking into the tournament hall like that next minute. And it
Yep.
was, for all of our listeners, our jersey, which you can buy on the
Ooh.
site, some
Hmm.
nice
Mm.
sunglasses, just like the spike head mace balls that we have. And
Nice.
most important, this will come up later, those fantastical, potentially luck enhancing shorts that we sell on the site, which I have
Oh
talked up
my
many times.
God.
I bought a pair for myself,
They're very comfortable.
very comfortable. And I was, decked to the nines in this outfit.
Hmm.
So that was
Hmm.
my
Hmm.
pregame ritual. I kind of like helped teach my little daughter ride a
Mm.
bike, and I wore the stuff and wore sunglasses,
There
looking
you go.
cool, and drinking some coffee before I had to, hop in the
Yeah.
car and drive
Shout
out
out
there.
good parenting to get you in the zone.
100%.
And
It might
and
have
it,
been put me over the top.
and you also dressed for the job you wanted, right?
That's true.
Exactly. I dressed for success. I
Hmm.
walked in with an outfit that said I was already winning that game. That's what I
Damn
think I
right.
did. Yeah. But it was kind of a fun experience because, of course, the list that Anthony was piloting this weekend, for the
Hmm.
thing, was
Yeah.
a Heat Knights of Slaanesh list. And
Okay.
Lovely.
I
Yeah.
Perfect.
have, played plenty of them in the past. I got the faction
Yep.
word a couple
Your
years
old
ago.
flame.
Yep,
Hmm.
yep.
Yep.
But I definitely hadn't played a single game of Heat Knights this edition.
Mm.
And though I talked with him, about the list and looked at it and understood it, I hadn't played that list, of course,
Yeah,
however
yeah,
long
yeah.
ago I haven't played Heat Knights. So, I was going to go in a little bit cold. Just hoping it
Okay.
would be able to
Okay.
click okay. But I wandered in, we hung
Yeah.
out, we had a little lunch there,
Cold
and
as
then
ice, Jack. Cold as
cold
ice.
as
Ice in your
ice.
vein.
I know, and I had the tray of his models, beautifully painted, ready to bring to the table, and we
Mm.
then went to go do the pairing process, and the first thing that kind of gave me a little bit of a cold sweat, with all these circumstances,
Okay.
was that we were playing pretty much for the top table because they've been undefeated all weekend, just crushing it. So we were
Ruh-roh.
Damn.
playing
No
another cool
pressure.
team, bunch of great guys. Yeah, the
Hmm.
Chromatic Dragons there. Shout out to them, and so
All
we did the
right.
pairings process. And I ended up playing like a really great dude who I know from around here, another talented player named Oscar Sebastio, and he was playing Slaves to Darkness, and I'm playing
Ruh-roh.
Heat Knights of Slaanesh. So it's like I'm facing against like my normal army, like kind of the evil antithesis, and he was running like a pretty hard hitting
Evil
Vanguard
antithesis.
and Chosen and
Uh-oh.
Be'lakor
Belly
kind of
list.
style thing. Yep,
He was bringing the heat.
he was bringing the heat,
He's bringing
and
the
I was
meta
bringing
heat.
yeah, and I was bringing some Heat Knights fun, but
Okay.
it was kind of like a good match in a way because this list that I was running was all about just taking away attacks, like getting you to hit the middle anvil, and all
Uh-huh.
of a sudden you're -2 or 3 attacks between a bodyguard, the Myrmidon Twin
Okay.
Souls, and the Threnody voice box. So I was able to kind of set things up where we had this big scrum in the center,
Yeah.
and he came in with the Chosen and the Vanguard, and they were pretty much all like just like 1 or 2 attacks because
Okay.
Glutos and the Simbresh and the Shard Speaker just
Oh,
shut down the offense.
yep.
And
That's a
I'm
good
sitting there with,
combination.
That would
yeah,
do it.
it was so good. And the rest of this list is like a couple blocks of Demonettes, so you can get like an
Hmm.
ungodly number of attacks.
Sure.
A
Some archers too, I
Decessa,
bet.
yep, 20 archers,
Mm.
an opportunity to have a couple of pain bringers and all that. And
Yeah.
yeah, it worked out. We kind of had like this big like pin in the center, and then I came around the side of the counter charge, cleaned up the chosen, managed to
Mm.
weather some of the rallying fights from the Vanguard, and
Okay.
eventually had pretty much everything left, and I kind of took it down. And so the
Nice.
game, though it was definitely some tense moments, it could have gone different ways, came very conclusively down in my favor. So it became a huge blowout. And it ended
Hmm.
up being, with a team differential you get like at Worlds, like a 20-0.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yep. That'd do it.
So
That's
great
the
game against
end.
Oscar, awesome
Mhm.
dude. Looking for the next one, but it
Yeah.
went my way. And
Yeah.
so I'd come in with the right outfit. I dressed for the job I
Yeah.
wanted, and the game
Exactly.
ended up going my way. And boom, there we
Uh-huh.
are. We're the 20-0, and it's sort of like, all right, this is what I came to do. I came and I planted the flag, and so I felt
Yep.
very good about that, not letting down
Hmm.
my buddy's legacy, because he'd been doing pretty well the whole tournament, obviously,
Hmm.
Yeah.
and it then just kept spiraling, guys, in like the right direction. So of course we ended up winning that round, I think 3-2, and with the
Hmm.
differentials,
Hmm.
we not only won our fourth round, we won the tournament. And not only did we win the
Oh.
tournament, uh, Anthony plus me with a little help got best general. So I got to run up there and pretend to
Oh.
be him and like accept the medal on his behalf and all that. And it
That's
was like a good
funny.
old time.
That's great.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Ah.
Like pound for pound, the most endorphins you could ever have at a Warhammer tournament. To just go up for one game and get like
Mm-hmm.
that huge rush.
Yep.
Normally you have
Hmm.
to work much harder for it. So I was feeling pretty
Yep.
lucky that day.
Very nice.
That's
Very
pretty
nice.
rad.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you were huge debuff list going into a smashy debuff list.
Mm.
Yeah, it was, and a really great list. But I think it's sort of like a anvil that frustrates all the big fighty chargers out there, the alpha
Yeah.
lists, and then has an incredibly strong counterpunch because you can pretty easily just get 80 attacks off of demonettes, which are either going to crit into two because they're euphoric, or just do a bunch of mortals. It'll
Yeah.
clear most things, and there's two of them in that. Yeah, it's sort of like an easy
Mm-hmm.
counterpunch.
Big blob of
Definitely.
doom, and they bring back D3 per turn, right?
Oh, the
The
demonettes, no,
banner.
they're just total glass cannons. You're thinking of
Okay.
bloodletters, I think, with the D3 attack.
Oh, I thought
Yeah.
they brought stuff back.
No, they don't do anything. Their big
Oh.
thing is, they're running in
Yeah.
with snippy crab claws and looking life
Yep.
as sexy as they do it. But
Yep.
they have the two attack space. They get an extra one if they
Mm-hmm.
charge that particular turn. And it's
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
something
Mm-hmm.
like a 3 and a 4 would run one
Yep.
damage. But
Okay.
Decessa, if you go and fight something nearby, can add an attack to a nearby localized demon unit. D3 them, I
Oh.
think. So you get them
Okay.
up to 4 that way. And
Sure.
with the Slaanesh stuff, if you make something a euphoric killer, they get to run and charge, and they get
Okay.
Hmm.
crit 2 hits. And there's a
Uh-huh.
sorry, I misspoke, a unlimited spell you can cast, which turns
Okay.
those crit 2 hits into crit mortals. So it's not
Mm.
too much of a stretch to get a running, charging, 80 attack glass
Mortal
cannon
wounds
unit
just
on these
blend
25
everything.
millimeter bases that can do crit
Yep.
mortals.
Because they're all getting in within 3 inches.
Hmm.
Yep. Yep.
That
Oof. Okay.
that's brutal. That sounds like a lot of fun.
It was
Yeah.
very fun. The control aspect of that was incredibly pleasing because Blutos
Mm.
is just such a giant troll in this little palanquin,
Yeah.
and combine it with some of the season rules with the
Mm.
honor guards and bodyguards and things like that. You can really do some
Yeah.
fun stuff.
And it's a hero as your general you want to throw into combat all the time as well. It all works
Hmm.
out.
Oh yeah, and he's just demoralizing because he heals
Is
something,
it?
generally himself, 6 at the end of every single turn, which is a lot of wounds.
Yep. So you got to
Yeah.
like overcommit, and then he's got layers of debuffs. If you have a
Hmm.
shard speaker by him, you can
Yep,
debuff
yep.
more. There's
Yeah.
like tons of little debuff tricks there.
Very
It was
nice.
great. And in that one, I'd even dropped actually the
Huh.
Hogs, so he had a -1 to hit aura around him,
Oh
so that was
God.
fun.
Shout out to your friend for building that list and coming up with all that, man. That is
Oh, it was
scary.
brutal. Yeah, really hats off to Anthony. I just got to play with
Yeah.
it, but it was a lot of fun.
Nice.
So did so so was it a blowout? Did you say it was a blowout? Did I
On
hear
my
that?
side, yeah, I think I ended up, it was like 47 or 48, 14, me.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think I remember you
Top
posting
table
about that.
blowout.
Yeah.
That's insane. So that
Yeah.
And it broke my way. I mean, Oscar was definitely playing well, doing some really canny stuff, but it definitely
Mm.
the dice were favorable that morning, or maybe it was the shorts. I'm going to say the shorts, which is a
yeah, I
good
think
plug
it's
I
for
the
the merch
mean,
store
shorts.
you,
because
you
those are
had
available.
coffee out in Boston. If you have your Dunkin' Donuts, really, you're already a step above.
That's true.
That's
That
Uh,
true.
is actually a fact. But
Yeah,
that,
it was a pretty good best day ever. Come out, have fun with that, see everybody. Get to
Hmm.
go back. I
Yeah.
think I got a box set out of it. So some night haunt. So
Oh,
oh,
that
super
I didn't
good
even
rad.
know
times.
that. That's great. You love winning
Yeah.
Perfect
prizes.
timing with the new rules coming in, right?
Oh, I know. I was thinking, oh, do I have to play these now? This is too fun.
They're
Mhm.
terrifying, man.
I mean,
Charge in place, all
yeah.
the stuff you got to keep track of, which
Mhm.
heroes
Oh,
are
I
going to
know.
debuff you in certain ways.
I mean, if anything, this sounds more like you need to play Slaanesh for the next GHB coming out.
I think so. I think so. I
Maybe.
think
I was
so.
reminded how fun they are, guys. It's just, oh, I
Isn't
love
that
that play
great?
style for a reason. Yeah.
No, that's why I hopped back on my Deepkin. I remembered how much fun they were, and I'm like, yes, I need to keep this going.
and
You know?
It's true.
you're out there clubbing baby seals like a gentleman.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah. You're
Yes.
right.
So I mean that does bring up a question though. I mean, and
Oh,
it's been
please.
kind of I had this conversation with one of our guys,
Mhm.
one of our locals up here at
Okay.
that RTT that Ricky Fisher put on at Mox, which if
Mhm.
anybody is in the area, I always recommend you go.
Yep.
Ricky is,
Anything Ricky does is
yep,
great.
he is
Ricky
a
Troggy.
wonderful person, and we are going to get him on here eventually,
One day.
one day. Again,
Hmm.
because it's been a little while. Actually, last time we had him on was when he won Tacoma Open,
Okay.
That's
so it's
right.
been a little while.
Yeah.
But the is either that or Best Army. I think both. But anyways,
Anyway.
I was having a conversation with one of my opponents, and we both
Hmm.
kind of like got through the game,
Yeah.
and it was pretty one-sided. And we were just like, is Age of Sigmar like becoming a little cruel with the list you have to build in competitive play? And that kind of like stood out to me, that question. And I wonder if you guys have been seeing this too, where
Hmm.
like list variation has actually dropped quite a bit. Um, and
Mm.
like it feels like there's only two armies out there right now. There's a turn two charge army that kills everything
Hmm.
into third, right?
Yep. Varangard, Deepkin, the alpha pinning kind of situation. Even yeah,
Mm-hmm.
okay, okay.
And then there's a
Hmm.
debuff army. And those are the only two things that I can think of that I'm seeing.
That are
What do
doing
you guys
well.
think? Yeah, that consistently
Huh.
playing competitive level. Maybe it's just Pacific Northwest area, but like those are the two consistent things that I see. Like obviously Bellacore is everywhere, right? So you got your debuff there,
Yep.
Hmm.
but being paired up with Varangard in almost every iteration.
Hmm.
Like we know those are the big bads. They have been for months now. Now we're getting a
Yep.
little bit more variation as far as like armies or like battle
Hmm.
tomes, but like
Hmm.
it feels like we're still playing the same kind of thing. What do you guys think?
That's a good question. Rocco, why don't you start with this one? I want to hear your opinion on this,
All
and then
right.
we'll
All
settle on a
right.
bit. I've been
Hold
talking for
on.
a
Let
bit.
me. Okay. I. So I've been playing a mix of AoS and 40K, and even with narrative to competitive to everything, it seems like damage is the name of the game, and if you can still table your opponent early enough, you don't care that you can't score, four battle tactics in a game if they can't score any.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like lists lately have been built less for the blue deck control of I'm gonna outlive you and sure I'm gonna debuff you, but we're gonna play a full game to if there is a round five, each player has two models, and you're trying to be like, how the hell did we get here after we killed everything? How can I even score another point?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like again, it's the Varangard. The question we're asking in a world where Varangard are running people over with Bellacore is what has the damage to get through a 3-up save that can be easily made into a 2-up with all out defense.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like armies lately in different builds don't have a lot of screens or
Yeah.
necessarily more than one anvil because I don't know if it's the points got too high on the things you want to take because the damage dealing units keep getting increased, but you want
Hmm.
to take them anyway. And You don't see cheap screens going out of like, oh, cool, here's a 10-man unit of schmucks for 90 points. Here's 6 units of Aether Wings. That used to be
Hmm.
kind of a meme, but you throw them out, they die horribly, but you'd still have 1,500 points of your army to
Hmm.
hit back. Um, and also I wonder with all the endless spells that have been such a priority, whether it's the Purple Sun, the Grave Tide, the Morbid Conjuration, whether you're going the Forbidden Power, where we're still seeing just these two builds of either it's pure mortal wounds damage or it's all the debuffs. I don't know if there is a space for like maybe like an all monsters fun build to still go 3 and 2 because you're just gonna get clapped.
Hmm.
Or if you don't go the Chosen and the Vanguard and the Be'lakor, are you playing Slaves to Darkness right? As much as we want to see, especially on this podcast, we want to see all the Marauders and all the Wilder Fiends and all these fun pieces that can still
Oh,
do
groins.
good.
Oh, groins. Oh, groins.
Get me some Therodons in there, man. You just don't necessarily see them as often.
Hmm.
And even like in third, when Gargants came, the question was, can your army lift a Gargant in a turn?
Yep.
Kill one
Now
around.
it's
Like,
just
can you
like
do that?
now Gargans are
DPS
at a
check, yeah.
disadvantage just with Farengard running around the board.
Yeah. Now it's, can you
Add
hold
in
on to your butts
Be'lakor,
long enough?
that's two models that are functionally out of it for a turn, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's such a strange place for the game to be in. And
Hmm.
it feels like I guess what would it be, the beginning of third where things
Hmm.
Hmm.
got very skewed, right?
Yes.
Where it was just like you have two types of things that you can play.
You can Imagine Dragons at that point.
Yep. Yep.
but like but it
Or it was
is
a pure
interesting.
damage. It was all the mortal wounds they drop on you from the breath weapons. It was just constant
Hmm.
pain. You know?
And then there was also like what else? There was all the shooting. The Lumineth shooting at
Yep.
that point was still
Yep.
brutal. It was either
Yeah.
shooting or Lumineth shooting or dragons, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, and it feels like all the lists is slowly like consolidated into
Hmm.
that. Thank goodness for all the Gloomspike Gets players that love just playing what they want. And now that the book's out, they're all like, "Yes, I'm gonna play my book until I get
Yes.
bored with it and move on to the next one, like a proper squig."
Hmm.
But like it's interesting at the moment seeing how the playing field is kind of condensed. Like I expect now to only
Hmm.
run into Varangard
Yep.
and Seraphon. Those are the
Yes.
only two armies that I see so many
It's
of,
gonna be a Croaknado.
and it's
And
just like, oh, it's gonna be
yeah.
Croaknado and Chargers, right?
Hmm. Yep.
And
Oh,
The
that's
Agrodon Lancers or
that's what they are. Yeah, yeah,
yep.
yeah.
You don't even see necessarily that many Temple Guard anymore. It's really weird how the thing skewed even more. But
well, they've dropped the protections of it, which is strange with the Crocado and all that. 'Cause they used to be
Mm-hmm.
mandatory.
yeah, but it's one of those things too where I've been seeing it in 40K where again that's a game where if you lose the priority rule, you might just lose the game because everyone, even in the casual games, they're going out for bear with all the guns and everything, and it's all just like cool. I won the priority, you lose half your army. I don't want AoS to be that way. I want this to be a slightly slower round 2 to round 4 game is important. I still got to have a round 3
Hmm.
where I round 1 we're moving, we're jockeying for position, we're doing it. It shouldn't just be cool. Here's like 3 to 6 charges and you're dead.
You
Mm-hmm.
know, I think that maybe we have a saving grace with that. But before I go all into it, I think you had
Please.
something, Matt. I don't want to cut you off.
I
Oh, I
don't
thought you
know.
had something. I
That.
didn't want to cut you off there.
Oh, no, I think
The retort,
I agree with Rocco. Like there's and 40K is an entirely different beast, right? Where
it is
like
because it's all the shooting and then a little bit of melee.
and
Yeah,
like
knights and
but it
lasers and else.
it does raise that concern that I have about the game and why I stopped really playing 40K. I
Hmm.
played 40K for a long time, but like it came down to who is gonna skew into the most aggro list to
Yeah.
win because you get beaten so hard each time if you're not completely optimizing your list that it's not fun. So where
Yes.
Hmm.
some people will say, no, that elevates the competitiveness of the game, I would counter that it's like, well, that actually just reduces the flavor of the game.
Hmm.
Mhm.
It's like it's just you have this with the books, and I have a lot of them still because I still grab all that stuff. I love the
Yeah.
artwork. I love all of
Bold
the lore and all that
Wars and
stuff, right?
stuff. Yeah.
But like when you open these books, you see like a plethora of things that are like, wow, that's really cool. That's an
Hmm.
awesome idea. What if I could pull that
A
off?
neat
Or what if I
model,
could
a
do that?
concept that might never come to
Yeah,
life because it's not going to be that thing in the table, right? That's what you're thinking.
Yes.
exactly. And so like you see like a good third of almost every book not being used at all because people are like, oh, that's
Yeah.
too trash. There's no way I can have any fun with that.
Hmm.
And there's that distinction that I hope AOS stays in, which is that may not be competitive, but I could have fun with that, right?
Yes.
As
I,
opposed to with 40K, where it's like, I just won't have fun with that because
You can't even have
everybody's
fun. Yeah.
expected to have
no.
that list. And so
Yep.
that's where we were having that conversation, which
Hmm.
was like,
Hmm.
is AOS starting to become a little bit cruel because we're getting into that I'm not going to have any fun
Hmm.
with that.
Hmm.
That's interesting. I mean, I'll throw a
Hmm.
couple thoughts out on there. I think
Please.
it's crueler for sure. Like if you go
Uh,
into a competitive environment
yeah.
and you bring something fun or fun, or you're definitely already like a foot down in terms
Yeah.
of
Yeah.
like, and maybe having weaknesses can be exploited, whatever.
Hmm.
Especially if you haven't built in any tech or something sensible to counter all that stuff, which is
Okay.
part of that game if you do want to kind of make it work for you.
Hmm.
And then all it really takes with some of these lists is one misplay in
Yeah.
deployment or moving, and then you're just eviscerated.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's a step slower than like 40K, and I would argue feels way better than the 40K version of this, but it still does
Yes.
happen, right? Like there's nothing quite as terrible as putting your 40K army down on the field,
And then
losing
picking
one
it up.
dice roll,
Yep.
and having their knight and their shooting gallery like pick
Hmm.
up all your stuff, either because you didn't have cover because that's just
Hmm.
weirdly the table you were on, or you didn't know
Yeah.
to use it. And then if you
Or
are in
even
the game where you
better,
use it, it's sad. Yeah.
they win the roll off. They can move 4 inches to the right, and then they get shooting lanes into your cover.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And
Exactly.
like it seems like AOS has kind of previously built rules in that kind of punish you a little bit for playing that way.
Hmm.
Hmm.
In the way that like, hey, if you overextend yourself and you don't get that double turn, you're
Yep.
you've made the mistake that will hurt you, right? But you
Hmm.
have to kind of go out of your way to do that and not have a salvageable like skin of your teeth game,
Yeah.
Hmm.
except for like we were saying, like at the beginning of third. And now I think we've actually kind of hit that. But
Hmm.
like in no way am I comparing this to the insanity that is 40K at the moment. Like the lethality part of that game has gotten too stupid to
Yes.
play in a way that is fun, um, without being competitive, right?
Yes.
You can't even sit down and have a casual game there.
No.
And
You could be at a barbecue on a Saturday and have
mhm,
your entire like cool list you made of Space Marines or Necrons lifted up by one night's Overwatch flamethrower or something like
Hmm.
that.
yep.
Yep.
And
And
so
that
like
does not feel good.
yeah, and so AOS, I feel like casualists now are so inundated, at least in my area, with
Hmm.
like we do have a ton of like world-class players, so like we all kind of
As we've
have
talked
the
about.
bar raising eternally, right? But
Yeah.
like the question is like the with those two like styles of lists, there's either you are debuffed into oblivion
Hmm.
or you are curb stomped by end of turn two, essentially,
Yep.
right?
And I'm guilty of that here with my Deepkin, of doing
Yeah.
both, depending on which build I take. If I take a bunch of
Yeah.
defensive heals, you're minus to your attacks.
And
You
the
know, just eels in general, moving 14. Hell, run and charge. I get a bunch of eels going 20 inches up the board on you. Good game.
well, the thing
Yeah.
is like, oh, go ahead, Jack. You got it.
Oh, thank you, Matt. I was going to say, I feel like that definitely is the danger, right? I think that
Mm.
there's been a lot of bills that have come out where people can alpha send some scary stuff, and
Hmm.
against a lot of unprepared armies or armies that are positioned a certain way, or armies that maybe even do the right things but have a little bit of bad luck, that can be
Hmm.
enough. And you can like
Yeah.
win games that way quickly. Turn one, turn
Mhm.
two, turn three. And that's sometimes what a lot of people in the tournament want. You're back for its less, you move fewer models, you have a little more time for lunch or a beer, you know. It's like
Sure.
Yeah.
it kind of has a lot
Sure.
of things to recommend it. But
Hmm.
I still feel like there's enough of an opportunity to punish that, severely punish that. I debuff lists or maybe some variations of stuff which just take advantage of the fact it is committing early and sometimes has fewer pieces where you can just win the game on positions, let them kill some stuff. So like, yeah, they
Mhm.
have a field day, but you got all the points. And
Yeah.
you don't even have to like kill them or debuff them so they're totally ineffective. You can just give them something to tear apart like a Rottweiler while you
Mm.
sit on the circles or you do the thing or you play some techie stuff. I
Mhm.
do think that if you don't have a plan and you don't have ways in which you can manipulate that aggression just to turn into a win for you,
Hmm.
yeah, then you're the person they run over and they get their 3-2. They're
Mhm.
almost like a style of play which becomes gatekeepery in a
Okay.
Yeah.
competitive scene.
It's what is it? DPS check
Yeah.
and et cetera, et cetera. The old the other old guard of
Mm.
all games, right? Um, but there is another question, and I think it
Okay.
may be answered by the incoming GHB, and that's,
Mhm.
is
Come
it
on.
because the objective play is so baked in now that all these lists are built around smash and bash or
Mm.
denial to the point where all of these objectives are planned so easily
Mm.
that they're just taken. I know that
Okay.
in my style of play, I at least have three guaranteed objectives, right?
Oh, for
Mhm.
the battle tactics. Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
sorry,
Yeah.
battle tactics, battle tactics. I don't know why. It's later for you guys, but
No, you're onto
You're
something
good. You're
though,
good,
because
Matt. You're good.
and
it is a little bit baked in.
Yeah.
is it because there are so many, let's say, and especially for like the beat up armies,
Hmm.
there's a very easy way to get two of those tactics. Charge two, right?
Yeah.
No one dies.
Yeah.
And contest two, right?
Yep.
So
And if
those
you're the
two,
Chaos beat 'em up list, you also have Ordained Charge or Charge 2 or anything again.
mhm.
Or kill
And
two
if you're,
units, which is
Or
another
kill,
one.
yeah,
yep.
and then kill someone in the General's Regiment. You were going to do that anyway, you
And
know?
so then it becomes like, because the game has gotten surprisingly more lethal somehow,
Hmm.
um,
Mhm.
which
Yeah.
is really funny because when we look at it, the game felt less lethal at the beginning of fourth. I don't
It
know about
did.
you guys, but I was looking around like, where's my extra
Yeah.
rend?
Oh, yeah.
Where's all my fun damage? Right?
Yeah.
Weapon
Totally agreed.
profiles got simplified,
I was
and
missing Mystic Shield for a bit.
mhm.
I was, all my 3-up to hits and wounds. I used to be able to get to twos are now threes and fours to hit, fours to wound, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, but we do have decent recursion in almost every army now, and the ones
Yep.
that don't have it definitely don't need it for those things that they're using, right?
Yep.
So, like, there is an interesting question of, okay, if the game has actually become less lethal,
Hmm.
it just feels more lethal because,
Yep.
we don't
Perceptions.
have Mystic Shield, we don't have a couple of other things.
Okay.
Um, is it the battle tactics?
That's just interesting. And I like what
Mm-hmm.
you guys were saying earlier, where like there's a couple things you can just do, right?
Yeah.
So if they're
Mm-hmm.
too easy to do
Hmm.
without necessarily having a plan beyond charging and cut them up, does that
Yeah.
make it so you don't have to make the choice? I mean, like, I think that chaos example is pretty good. Like if you're playing the Baron Guard list, just
Hmm.
not to pick on it because there's all sorts of stuff like this, Agrodons, whatever, but
Yep.
if
Mm-hmm.
you're playing like the ultimate hammer list
Hmm.
and you know that your plan and your battle tactics can easily be fulfilled by running into tough as nails units across 3 turns and just fighting stuff.
Yep.
maybe with slightly more variability than some of the other tactics, still pretty good shouts. Like if it's doing what you want to do,
Hmm.
then you don't have to make a choice between sending two hammers in and swinging as hard as you can and winning the tactics game. But if they're very specific, then maybe you do. I don't know. I mean, maybe that's what they're going to try to solve next GHB. I think we've all seen a little sneak preview of what that might look like from those articles, but
Yeah.
we haven't seen the full picture yet. Maybe they're really hard to do without very specific intent.
Yeah, and that actually sounds very interesting, right?
Hmm.
And I think hopefully what it'll do, we'll probably see more, and once we see more, we can talk about it more, right?
Hmm.
But like my hope is that they bring variation back, because the opposite of that
Okay.
hammer beat him to death is deny your opponent battle tactics, right?
Yeah.
And that you get a lot with the debuff list. Like that's why
Mhm.
everybody hates Bellicor, but everybody uses Bellicor. Oh, you were going to take that objective with that
Hmm.
unit? Cool. Not
Yep.
going to do it now,
You love to see it.
right?
You love to see it.
So
You do.
it's an interesting conundrum that it's going to be fun to see the new battle tactics change. Um,
Yeah.
and I'd like to see how that works out, and whether we think the game is so lethal after that, because from what it looks like, everybody's going to be doing their own thing, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
but at the same time, now all these new rules coming in for war scrolls all look
Yeah.
very lethal,
They do.
Yeah. Yeah.
very
I
lethal.
was gonna say I don't want to bury the lead because we might talk about those in a later episode. But
Hmm.
just as a theme, I don't know if you guys feel the same way. It just seems like everything is about one more damage
Hmm.
and one more rends pretty easily, and maybe one more crazy ability. Now I would expect there to be at least one of the worst rolls in every single drop. Like every
Yes.
one of them is like, wow,
Yeah,
right now.
and the fact that you
Yeah.
can't mix and match is interesting. Again,
Yes.
as a TO, I'm going to be so sad if somebody comes in and mixes up their lists, and I'm just going to be like, oh
Oh,
crap.
100%. It's gonna be
Um,
such a pain in the ass because it's the point they're doing different points for the units too.
mhm.
It'll be growing pains and it'll also be, give new players some leniency, but
I'll
it
actually have to check lists when they're
you will.
submitted. Dang it.
You
There's going to
will.
have to be some very clear statements. Well, this is the Giran whatever versus the regular whatever, and
Hmm.
Yep.
And I'm sure the app will take care of that, right?
Yeah.
But the
oh, it better. Jeez.
I do have to say, I know we're probably going to talk about them later on,
Okay.
but I still like the old Cavaliers, not the new ones, because the
I
mortal wounds on the charge.
I want to disagree. I want to disagree so bad.
Do it. Do it. Tell me why.
I okay, so in theory, letting them do what their actual lore says is they're not supposed to be chargers. They're sustained fighters through the thing. They
Hmm.
are supposed to be the alpha pin unit in the lore so that the gunners can shoot them down and the cannons can go and shoot better and life is good. But Matt, they do natively hit on threes now.
Hmm.
In theory, the math should feel really good. We shouldn't miss the mortal wounds. The thing that gets me is they did go from three attacks to two.
Yeah, which makes
So
them feel like that's a little.
So do we
Yeah.
like the new Cavaliers or not like the new Cavaliers? I feel
I
like we're,
for
that's
10
all we
more
guess.
points per five. In theory, you would think it would do more damage because you'll have the two damage more often. But
Hmm.
Because of the red work ability where they're
yeah,
quote unquote counter charging. Okay.
But it's
but
like 33% and then 50%, right? Or sorry,
not to mention
66% chance of hitting and then
yeah.
50% chance of
And you can
wounds.
get it down to a two up to hit now, which is great.
Hmm.
And there's ways to put on a plus one to wound, that's fine. But to me, it is still only Ren 1 in a world where at best you're gonna, you're running into a bunch of three up saves currently. If you're gonna take on a Varangard,
Well, tune-up saves.
a two up saves because, all the reasons.
Hmm. With with most likely a banner.
Yep.
debuffing your
Mhm.
ability to all out attack. So you're going to be
Yep.
hitting on threes, wounding on fours still.
Mm-hmm.
-1
Yep.
run, 2 damage on the charge, and two
Mm-hmm.
damage if you survive. Fights twice.
Yep. And can you at 3 wounds on a 3-up survive a fight's twice Varengard going back? You shouldn't. You're 150 points for or 160 in that for 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Going at Varengard hitting back at 200 whatever, and there's going to be 6 of them to 10 of you.
Mm-hmm.
You
That's a
should,
600 plus point unit right there. To be fair,
yeah,
for your
Yeah.
150.
versus a 300-ish point unit, you should go maybe kill one of them and then get blown away.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's the game. You do that a few times over, cool, you've killed maybe 3 of them and they've killed 900 points of you. Or you go in there on the charge, you impact them, math says you get 5 mortal wounds out of 10 dice on a 4-up. Not
Mhm.
that that ever really happens, but follow me, camera guy.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
go, you
Yeah. Yeah.
basically punk one on your charge in, and then all your attacks with the extra dice still probably take down another. And that already just sounds just from volume at that point. That to me already sounds like that's the better war scroll and it's cheaper.
Well, and then think of it defensively, right? So
Mm-hmm.
countercharge. You save 2 CP for a
Yep.
countercharge, and then you have
Yep.
your mortal wounds
Yeah.
on their charge, right?
Bucket
Yeah.
mortal wounds. Yeah.
Yeah. So like I don't know. I feel like
I
they
think the mortal
have
wounds are better.
yeah, I think they are. I
And
I
I
feel
feel like
want to
like
be
the
I
only big
know.
benefit to the red work is that you can power through whenever you feel like.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it's interesting because what they're trying to do makes sense to me.
it
One of
does.
them is a pure offensive unit for like smaller units, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
then the other is a hilarious tar pit unit against things like, let's say, demonettes,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Hmm.
Where if you get him down enough, where even like in the example of your list, Jack, that you were playing, like they come in, hit on threes, wound on fours, right?
Yeah.
And then
Hmm.
all out defense against those attacks, hopefully survive.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've got damage too for the next round.
Yep.
Like there's use cases for both.
There
But I
is.
think the weirdest thing about it is that you have to pick one because the perfect thing would be able to have, for me, an all
Mm-hmm.
cavalry army where I could have
Mm-hmm.
both of those units
Yep.
and then use kind of like a leapfrogging ability and have like
Mm-hmm.
a jack of all trades on it, right?
Yep. Have
Hmm.
different nightly orders. That could
Mm-hmm.
be this. Then we've got the old Reiksguard and the White Wolf kind of going at each other, and then
Wait a
it's
second.
what?
Remind me, can you use that red work ability in just your turn or in any turn?
The what?
It's
The
any combat phase.
oh, okay. Well, that means you can power through in your opponent's turn and just be wherever you want for your turn.
Well, you get damage 2 on the charge anyway.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I'm
So
just I'm
that
just thinking like
it's
you're
if you
already in
get bogged
combat.
down.
Boom.
It's
Well, I
nice
mean,
and I like it. The thing is I would have liked it more if they stayed at 3 attacks each.
True.
yeah, yeah,
That's probably the thing that's getting me is the change of the extra attack versus the 3 up to hit now is kind of a wash. And I think I would have I'd like impact hits because I don't think my knights will survive most hammers. To fight again and it'd be useful.
It's a
yep.
fair point. You got to
That being,
contrast that war scroll as maybe as we're missing, maybe as much as we're missing something. There's some incredible like
Hmm.
tech in there, with like the power throughs or something like that, with like the pure gas of like the black coach or whatever.
well, I
The
mean,
black coach is fantastic.
I think the tech of it is really like you're not at a disadvantage with any -1 to hit stuff
Hmm.
out there. So the
Yeah.
debuff armies like neuter you less by default,
Yes.
right?
Because then you go back to the basic human stat block at fours and fours, you don't feel bad.
Yep, yep.
Again, this is an
Whereas
elite knight feeling like an elite knight again on the hit, which is great.
elite human,
Elite
unaltered
human knight,
human.
excuse me. Or
Um,
regular elf for anyone else
yeah,
playing at home.
and oof.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I still feel like I keep thinking about like the why would people love this war scroll or want to do it?
Hmm.
I think the one thing that keeps jumping out to me, and granted, it's still only a 3 up if you outnumber them to even get this like charge ability.
Hmm.
But you could be in combat on your
Yep.
opponent's turn before
Yep.
your turn, red work yourself, do a little damage, and then power through and be anywhere you want in preparation for your turn to start, and then just be really putting them in a bad position.
Or you bring Zenestra and just teleport them.
That's true.
Yeah.
Protoss, Sinestro.
Yep. Little
um,
uppy downy.
yeah, there's some
Yeah.
interesting changes coming in. I feel like but it's again, it reminds me again of like we both of the iterations of those rules in the current state of the game, I don't
Hmm.
think we're interested in taking unless we're like, oh, this is our cute extra 200, 300 points that we have at the edge of the list that we want to
Yes.
use, right?
Hmm.
Yes.
Because what was the first thing we were like, oh, we run into 10 Vanguard, it's
Hmm.
not going to be even worth it at all, right?
No.
So even if you were to throw 20 of them into a unit of 10 Vanguard, would it be
Oh,
worth it?
6, but yeah.
Or sorry, six,
Yeah.
10,
10 knights,
20
6
of
Vanguard.
20 of the
Yeah.
knights, six
Yeah.
Vanguard. No, like two units, keeping it
Yeah,
even,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah,
600 to
yeah.
600 points. I would still bet on the Vanguard.
All day.
Yeah. So
For
like,
me, I would take the impact hit, mortal wounds, try and
mhm.
do something.
Yeah,
But
I probably get like 6 to 8 mortal wounds
hmm.
out of it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's still pretty good. That's a Vanguard down. That's like 100 points.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, but then you're getting 10 Vanguard attacks out of that with one unit down, right?
Hmm.
Of course, they're gonna pop that fights twice.
Yeah.
But
hmm
they're gone.
That's
They're
true.
gone after that.
Hmm.
So it's an interesting place for the game right now, and
Yes.
I'm looking forward to the new GHB. I feel
Yeah,
like all the little
There's got to be more sauce there.
100%.
They
Something's
must have
gonna
cooked
drop in
something.
here. It's gonna show us the why or the wrinkle.
Uh-huh. And again, we would just say it how killy everything feels, and I'm like, well, they don't feel that killy comparatively with the math we're working out.
I mean, it's
But
really their fault from third, to be honest. They were
yes.
stupid in third.
Oh yeah, they were
They,
great. They were great. Them,
mm-mm,
the handgunners, the fusiliers, whatever, whatever. Even with them
Remember it
being fours and
well.
fours, there's a lot of sins they're paying for. I get it.
mm-mm.
I was
Sadness.
there. I did it to people. I melted a
You
Vanguard
use
army.
the old magic of a human knight who could hit like a truck.
Who's
Yeah,
got
I
a
mean,
rock on a stick and bonked someone real good? Yeah. Uh,
but
but
we all got stopped by trolls, and that's what matters.
yeah.
That's true.
But
Uh,
it's just interesting the state of the game.
hmm And I think when we get these shakeups, it's going to be
Hmm.
invigorating too. There's always that.
Hmm.
God, I really hope that it comes out sooner rather than later
Okay.
as it pertains to freaking Tacoma Open
Hmm.
because oh my goodness, the horror stories.
Oh. Oh no, that's right. Because one doesn't it normally come out around the same time?
Yeah, people are building lists, don't know what the rules are, and just gets
Mm.
nuts. And I'm just like,
that's
nope.
Yep.
gonna be like a lot of fun. It's gonna create another wide open moment for
Hmm.
Mason just to come in.
Yep.
So the people
That's
are
his
ready for
that's
it.
his dream, going to the
Yeah.
wild, wild west and be like, cool. I read this book once last night, saw the numbers in my head float around, and
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I
fucking go in.
assembled and painted some crossbows on my way
Hmm.
to work while moving,
Yep.
and then I picked up an army for Matt, and I happened to win with it.
Yep.
That's sort of the dream.
I need more of a heads up this time. I need to know what I need to have painted. Dang it.
It's
Okay.
true.
Yeah, but it's a thing. And also with list building in general too, no one still uses auxiliaries.
What
I
are auxiliaries?
It's just supposed to be an extra unit that goes into a thing for anyone that thought Matt was serious there, I'll fully explain it. But no one still wants to give up the extra command point. We're still mostly seeing just two drop lists. There
hmm
are the occasional one drops, but it's also Bellacore and the Varangard coming at you.
I like my
Yeah.
5 drop list right now, which uses no
Well,
Vanguard. Rocco.
which that's
it is
great.
interesting when that dropped, we were seeing a lot more variation, right?
Yeah.
Just right away in
There are
that.
two,
So the
threes, fours, and then it's
mm-hmm.
generally been two drop lists
Yep.
with the occasional snowflake, Jack. You're beautiful and perfect as you are.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I like to be
Be
me.
that individual. The rest of us here, all right.
Hey
I'm
man,
rolling off to see if I actually get to choose who goes first.
I've always played larger drop lists, and even I have moved down to a two drop. So
Yeah.
for my competitive list, so it's just one of those things that was very interesting to see in
Hmm.
game and have that conversation. Uh,
And I
but
also don't want this to, if you're going for a competitive list and a competitive build, take the best thing, try your best, do all that. I'm not harping on that. I'm not hating on that. It is just what that actually entails has become so narrow to me from
mhm,
what I've seen, from hearing all the different tournament stuff, my own experience, and going around. I don't know if it's more, the internet's an echo chamber of who we're following or what, or just, the fact that we've got enough tournament organizers and top players on this podcast. And we've got enough other people and friends that have podcasts or on big gaming clubs and are saying the same thing over and over. And if I can have the same conversation in four different discords at the same time of everyone going, "Oh my God, everyone's a two drop now. What the hell? I can't choose who goes first or second. Oh my God, here's all these Varanguards still.
mhm.
What are we doing?"
Well, I think we sit back as we always do, as people who have been playing since first,
Mm-hmm.
and say, "Hey, everything's cyclical. The next thing
Yep.
will come around, and the next shiny new toy will be there to dethrone Be'lakor for like 6 months until he gets a points drop." And then
Yep.
we come back to
Exactly.
the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Then we'll see
um,
Archeon for the next 6 months.
I would love to see Archaon on the
I
board. It has
haven't seen
been
him in a
really
while.
strange, and
Yeah.
Hmm.
I hate to continue harping on it, but like it's so skewed towards certain units right now, and
Mm-hmm.
I really hope that the new battle tactics can really upend that. That would be
Yeah,
really cool to see.
I
Uh,
agree. I would love to see more variety in people's armies
Mm-hmm.
and kind of a good reason for that variety, not just people forcing them.
mhm,
And that'll do it. This might be the key. That combined with some of these different war scrolls or tweaks they do, like
Yep.
it's just kicking the door open to anything can be new again, right?
Yep.
Like they could
and
release like a Slongor scroll that makes them the next hottest things, and like everyone's
Oh
gonna
my
be like,
God. They deserve it.
they do. I hope that's exactly it.
they
And
always win in my heart.
They're so pretty,
they
honestly.
win best dressed,
Yeah,
you know. But
best least stressed.
it's one of those things too where Games Workshop for a long time only touched points. It wouldn't really address rules until something the whole community was screaming about it.
Hmm.
So this is really nice seeing them in this design space, at least trying something, you know?
Hmm. And that's kind of how AOS has always been, right? They're
Mm.
consistently doing something that breaks what I guess us oldies are used
Mm-hmm.
to from from at least Games Workshop games, right?
Yep.
Hmm.
Like
It's
each
not
time
a
they've come out
codex
with
every
something
10
new,
years.
hmm like the collective community's mind being like blown by
Hmm.
endless spells being free,
Yeah.
just that even like setting those kind of mile markers is always kind of helpful to remind
Hmm.
oneself that this too shall pass, like, but
Yep.
it'll be interesting. I am looking forward to hopefully seeing the I know I keep harping about it, but battle
Please.
tactics changing the way that the game is being played, but
Mm.
changing the way the game is being played for play styles as opposed to lists. And
Hmm.
Okay.
that way
Okay.
we can start seeing some more interesting builds come back, like let's say an all movement based army where wolves could excel, right? Like
Hmm.
gobos on wolves,
Yeah.
just move it around the board, actually getting shit
You'd
done
see
without
Huracan, Wind
worrying about
Riders, and
damage.
those
Mm-hmm.
foxes and
Hmm.
LRL back. But right now it's mostly battle cattle. From
Mm-hmm.
what I've been seeing, which I hope that's not fully the case, but I haven't seen a techless since the end of third, boys.
Hey. as somebody who has run into too many decklisses and is all about the
Yeah,
bods and not gods,
yeah, yeah.
You're
I'm here for
happy for
that.
him to stay on the shelf. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm here for that. I
I
only
was.
went Archaon because he doesn't like the gods.
Fair,
Yeah,
He
fair,
bends them
fair.
to his will. And for
it's
that he
true.
gets my hate.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
He's definitely been an armchair general for a while, though, right? With the amount of dust he's been
Hmm.
gathering on the collector's shelves. It's
Yeah.
mine too.
He is a
Yeah.
dusty boy.
Yeah.
Well, I think we've had a pretty good sort of sussing out of what might be happening here, and definitely a really interesting discussion on this
Hmm.
idea of the cruelty level of the game, and maybe, you know, some insights on how it's edged that direction, but still has plenty
Yeah.
of counters and saving graces. And we haven't quite gotten to the shoot off the table state yet.
That's
No, it
true.
hasn't.
It's
That's
true.
been, that was probably one of the best changes of the no shooting combat on a bunch of units.
Hmm. And that
Really
was
make that.
it was tamped down really early too, which was really
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah.
And I love that we've gotten to this right now as we're starting to get at that point where I'm starting to
Mhm.
hear that from a couple of different people. It's like, ugh, it's just a little skewed, it's just a little tight.
Yeah. Yeah, it took
Hmm.
a year.
New rules are right around the corner. You know,
You know
game
what?
is not stale, never stays
No.
stale. Somehow we're still refreshing that bread.
Hmm. And
That
and
that
again, the little rules burnout I might be having right now is right before the GHB. Okay.
right?
Hmm.
What a great
They
place to
did it.
be. So, like Jack said,
Hmm.
we have come to the last place.
A good place, even.
Mhm,
The
mhm,
place for
mhm,
today.
mhm.
Hmm.
All dear listeners, you'll have to wait a whole week until the next one. But for now, we can leave you with the last.
We're doing this weekly? Hello, everybody. It is Rocco, you boy, coming at you once again with another Always Strikes Last promo. That's right. Ring that bell. Leave a like, a subscribe. On whatever platform you're listening to us on, be it YouTube, be it Podbean, whatever you got these days. So you can keep up to date. Don't forget, we have the Patreon if you want to, give us a thank you for all the stuff we put out. That gets you into our member-exclusive Discord. And if you want to be an even bigger supporter, we've got a merch store.